Well, welcome out there once again to my show. Always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to have you out there in the audience. I have a couple of guests who have been on before many times. I'm going to get to them in a few moments. We're going to be talking about an interesting subject that I've kind of learned about the last few days, you might say. They're very familiar with what I'm going to bring up. But first of all, I got the legal tip of the week, and that is this, that when it comes to someone seeking a building permit, the abutters have to be notified. And, well, excuse me, I got that just the opposite way. Actually, there is no requirement that abutters be notified of a building permit. And that's a common problem, because you might find that your neighbor or someone close to you is doing some work, and you're curious about what kind of work they're doing, and you might be thinking that, well, I never got notification of what they're doing. Well, you don't get notification of what they're doing. But if you think there is something peculiar about what they're doing, and they might still even have a building permit, which they're supposed to display. So once a homeowner or someone else who's going to do some building, they're supposed to go see the building inspector, get a building permit, and display the permit. But you can call up the building inspector and ask, what are they doing? Now, if the building inspector doesn't know, and the building permit has never been issued, then he's supposed to go down and take a look and actually issue a cease and desist order until he does issue the building permit. And the other part of this is that even if a building permit is issued and you think that something is not quite right because it might violate the zoning laws in that area, in the sense that if it's a single-family zone area, but you're looking at a structure that is going to be a two-family building, then that's a violation of the zoning law, and you can bring that to the attention of the building inspector, and if he doesn't do something about it, you can appeal to the zoning board of appeals. So that's your tip of the week, and you might see a lot of construction that goes on, and you look at it and you wonder what's going on. A building is 2 feet from the property line. Someone's building a deck that is next to your bedroom. So, anyway, that's the procedure, gentlemen. And I have Mr. Martins and Mr. Andrade.
Hi, how are you?
How are you doing?
Great. How's everything?
Well, good. So we're going to get into a subject that's, I think, right along the lines of what you know, and that is in regards to Diman. Now, it seems that Diman does not have the room any longer for the amount of students that apply. And the other part of that is that they don't seem to have the resources to expand. So if 50 or 60 students are being turned away because of lack of room, that is a real problem for the education of those students, and I think that's, well, I'm going to ask you, what is the solution to that?
Well, interestingly enough, the superintendent had spoken to another group that I'm a part of, which is the Diman Bengal Educational Foundation, and he gave quite a lengthy synopsis of just exactly what was happening at Diman at this time. He said that they really can't build up. They have limited capacity to build up because there are only 2 areas of the school where they could add a second, another level. He said on the grounds itself, there is nowhere to go. Apparently, there was an attempt made in the past to get some of the water department land, which is right next door, adjoining the school.
Right south of Diman.
Right, immediately next door, practically. And for whatever reason, I guess that's not an option at all.
Well, so that's a curious thing. I mean, it's city-owned land.
Correct.
it's not being used for anything.
That's correct.
And it's right there, adjacent, it abuts the Diman school property. And I mean, I think so many people sitting out there would say, well, why doesn't the city just give them that land if they could use it?
Or sell it, but apparently, for whatever reason, I think that was attempted because there was some thought about actually building some athletic fields there a few years back, and for whatever reason, that just is apparently not an option. So one of also in terms of the funding, the Diman has approached the School Building Assistance Board of the state to be put on a list for an expansion, and apparently there's so many people, so many systems that are ahead of them, that they're in the pipeline right now, that there's nothing that would be happening in that area. There would be no funding coming down for a number of years. So they're actually looking at probably being proactive and possibly looking for other space where they could move some of their programs. But that's all in the talking stage right now. There's nothing really solid as of right now.
Joe, you were superintendent of Diman. How many years?
9 years as a superintendent.
9 years, and a teacher there. Now, during your time as a superintendent, did anything come up insofar as the land that the city owns next to Diman?
Well, no, we didn't get to be that formal. But there is areas to expand that building. To get into the water department area, that's where the student parking lot is. And you'd be encroaching on the student parking lot. But between although it's on a hill, but then Caterpillar can move mountains, you know.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that
dynamite can move a lot of other things too.
But nevertheless, there is room for expansion from the building towards Stonehaven Road, from the carpentry shop, the shops that are there, carpentry, plumbing shop, up the hill. You can expand in that direction toward the toward the student parking lot. There's also expansion from where the auditorium is toward where the driveway going between the building and the student parking lot. There's some area there you can put. You can't build a huge new campus on there, but there is room that you could add a couple more shops and some classrooms in there to accommodate the growing number of students that want that type of education. Only problem is that unfortunately the communities do not want to have Diman expand.
When you say communities, you're talking
Fall
about?
River, Somerset, and Swansea, and Westport.
In other words, is it money?
Well, no, it's because of the fact that the more students that go to Diman, the less students in their respective communities. And that is a big issue.
And that's money.
But I guess someone would say, well, if you have a student who wants to go to Diman but can't because town is in a way selfish, they want to keep that student for their own system. You have a student that's not happy. They're in a system, their own town, but they're not happy because they really want to be in Diman.
Well, that happens, and that's true, absolutely so. But there's also a law that says any student who wants a vocational school education is entitled to that vocational education. Now,
but based on the report of the superintendent, they're being deprived.
Oh yeah, they are being deprived. Absolutely.
Because there are students that want to go to Diman and they can't take them.
Correct.
You say there's no room.
But unfortunately, many parents, many students don't not know what they're legally allowed to do. If Diman cannot take them, and I want a vocational education, then indeed I can petition the Commissioner of Education to say, I want a vocational education, it's something.
Well, that's
Vocational
good.
education.
People out there listening, this is good advice.
And then the district has to pay for me going to New Bedford Voc, going to Bristol Plymouth, going to Southeastern, if there is openings, in those schools. But many people do not know that, do not know what the law is, and so that as a result, they're not going, and that's a shame. But I think one of the issues is that, look, if the community is losing students to, like, Fall River, Somerset, Swansea, Westport, and I've had this discussion with the prior superintendent. Well, a lot of kids want to go to Diman. Well, it's fine. Well, if you want to sort of curtail that a little bit, then change your programs and have it so that, no, they don't want to go to Diman or to a charter school. They want to stay where you're at. Change the programs to make them interesting for the students.
At Durfee or at a charter school, is that what you're saying?
Or Westport or Somerset.
Or Westport High School, or
Now, could that be by providing some kind of vocational education at these schools? Maybe not a full course, but at least they're going to get something.
Yeah, the vocational education on the federal Perkins grant. Right now, the vocational programs that Durfee has, the vocational programs that Diman has, 50% of the time the student is in a vocational setting. 50% the student is in an academic setting, okay? Well, that's the maximum. Now, the minimum, there's actually two minimums. There's 40%. 40% of the time the students are in a vocational program, and then 60% they're in an academic program. That's what Durfee has right now.
Oh, it does?
On those. 40% for cosmetology, culinary arts, early childhood education, I think I said cosmetology, and also
carpentry, is it?
Carpentry. Well, yeah, they don't call it carpentry; they call it construction
technology,
something or other in there. But now there is a new one, but it's new because it's not being used very much, but it's available, and that's only 2 periods a day. That's 25% of the students' time, based on an 8-period day. And when I was the principal over at the Newport Area Career and Technical Center, all I had those kids for was 2 periods a day. And the rest of the time, where they were in there from Tiverton, Tiverton, Portsmouth, Middletown, and of course Newport, they would get their academics in their regular high schools. But I had them for 2 periods a day as a vocational program. Now,
when you say you had them for 2 periods a day, was that a different facility?
Oh yeah. The campus, the Newport Tech Center is on the campus of Rogers High School, but it is a separate school.
Now, there was discussion too about off campus, so to speak, off of Diman grounds, getting space somewhere where classes could be held.
Yep, that was considered for the LPN program, Licensed Practical Nurse program, to rent space. That's an alternative.
And that would open up space at Diman itself.
Right. But then my assistant, who when I retired became the superintendent, Roger Ramus, built that addition. There's an addition where the LPN students now have their own little building, and it's not directly connected to Diman, but it's only maybe around 10 feet away.
You have to go outside?
Yeah, but they have a canopy between the buildings so that you can, and there's a signs, a clear plastic sign,
so you
can go in between there. And that was a matter of, well, if they made it attached to the building, then they'd have to revamp the entire Diman proper.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was cost prohibitive, couldn't do that, didn't have enough money. Now, I put one addition onto Diman, that's where the E-wing is.
And what's in that wing?
That wing now has the building technology,
Okay.
and has the plumbing, and has about 6 classrooms.
Oh, okay.
You know, John Connell was the superintendent, and I was the assistant superintendent at that time, you know, we had that addition put on. That was from money that John Harrington had managed to keep for the expansion of Diman in there. But now that's outgrown too. We need
Now,
more.
well, so getting to this off-site, off-campus facility, where would something like that? I mean, they talked about the industrial park. Is that what?
Well, as a matter of
people
fact, that was one of the
said?
items
They have a
that,
lot of. Sometimes it's buildings at the industrial park, just not being reused. Companies
Right,
have
right.
left. They have a building that's sitting there.
I think the superintendent was actually talking about Innovation Way, actually having a facility there and tying it into training for new jobs that might be emerging in this area. But again, that's just in the talking stage as of right now. Now, getting back to the Diman and some of its deficiencies in terms of space and facilities, one of the areas, even back when I was on the committee at the time, that we had hoped to be able to deal with was a cafeteria. The cafeteria is the school has tremendously outgrown the cafeteria. They have to have more lunches, shorter lunches.
So they eat in shifts.
So yeah.
They have 5 lunch periods
Yeah,
right
right.
now.
Five?
Five
How
lunch
long
periods.
is a lunch period?
30 minutes?
Like in the Army? Almost like in the Army?
Absolutely
They're
so.
short.
Yep.
They're
Next.
short.
Almost like that.
So the cafeteria has been, and we had talked about it at the time, but nothing new has happened since then. We had talked about possibly going out. Do you know, toward the not the street, but that drive in the back between the athletic fields.
No,
maybe going out with an atrium.
Yeah,
but
like a second floor.
no, just out from where it is. Out toward the athletic fields,
Oh, I see.
but nothing still. So the cafeteria is a major issue there. Another thing that the superintendent talked about was changing technology, and he said we really not only have to be concerned about getting more space, but we also have to upgrade some of the equipment that we have just to tie into
new technology,
exactly.
what's going on today in the industry.
But
Now,
you need to
shouldn't
have new programs.
But there is always coordination or cooperation between industry, Joe, right, and the school?
Oh, of course.
So people from industry will come in, or how does it work, and say, look, we'd like it to see something of this sort because this is what we have.
Well, I'm sure that Diman would welcome having industry come in and say, hey, look, we need to expand. We're going to expand as an industry. We need to have trained workers in there.
In other words, maybe industry will pay?
That would be nice.
Well, I mean, why should, let me put it this way then, why should the taxpayer train students so they can serve industry, and industry people are making the money? Why shouldn't they give back something to the community? In a sense, we're benefiting because your school here in Fall River supplies us with a lot of skilled labor that you've trained and paid for over the years. Isn't it incumbent upon them to come forward and say, look, we would like to give you some money for your school, for your expansion in this program that actually serves us?
That would be nice. However, the purpose of education is to provide training for people to be able to get
I
a
understand,
job.
but if industry people come in, and they say, you know, we'd like to see you do this and do that, because that fits into what we do here in our company. I think that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, and
Because
some,
the closeness now
Yeah.
of that.
and
You know,
some do to a certain extent. We may not be talking about big dollars, but some do. And you're probably aware that the school does have advisory boards, and actually by law they must have advisory boards for every shop, every program that they do have, so that there are industry professionals. Let's say if we're talking about plumbing, there will be people who work at plumbing professionally, who serve on that advisory board, who can advise the school on perhaps new developments or maybe changes that would benefit the program. And in some cases, they probably do provide some money.
Well,
we
yeah,
don't know.
industry does donate equipment to the school, but asking for a whole building, I don't think they'd be that receptive to it. But the equipment that would train the students to be able to be employed by that company, I think that's doable. You know, you have to also watch out in that, like when Gabe mentioned plumbing, you can only have so many plumbers. You cannot saturate the occupation in there, so that there is, and in any particular program at Diman, and that the intent is to be able to provide skilled labor into the workforce, but not saturate that area, so that now you have skilled workers
But no jobs.
but no jobs.
Well, as we know, nowadays, more and more Diman students are going on to higher education.
Absolutely.
So that they may not necessarily be in a plumbing field that long, or may not even be in a plumbing field because they've gone into some sort of engineering or some kind of a technical field that's a little higher than actually, you know, being out there in someone's home and doing plumbing work. And what came out, I was listening to a program in regards to American jobs, etc., and that this idea of everyone should have a free college education, what was said is that makes no sense whatsoever, because the country doesn't need college-educated people necessarily all the time. It needs vocational people in the technical industries. And how is America going to compete against these other countries that are very technical when we send people to college for what? That was the argument. I mean, how many history majors do you need? How many accountants do you need if no one's working?
Well, beyond that,
And to finish it off, my favorite saying, and to me anyways, nuts and bolts of any country is the skilled craftsman.
Right. And beyond that, I think it's better if a student have at least some skin in the game. In other words, if you get something for free, you may not have the incentive to be serious about it and do the work. If you have to pay at least something toward it, then maybe you will be a little bit more serious in your studies.
Major presidential candidate coming out with everyone should get a free college education hardly made any sense to when you think about it. And he promoted that idea, and people were believing that could come about. But who's going to do the plumbing and carpentry work? Where are the machinists going to come from? Right. How about the electricians when your light goes out? You're going to call a college kid in? Come on.
You know, when you talk about the expansion, at Diman, when the cooling towers were being constructed over in Somerset, there were some big trailers that were used for offices and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
In there. And from what I understand, those trailers were offered to Diman for free.
Just move them? Oh.
Just pay for the moving of them. And I spoke with the former superintendent now, Mrs. Montleon, about why not have trailers put them in proper places, and almost like Tansy. Tansy School has trailers, but you wouldn't know it, and they're beautiful. And Yeah, but the Department of Ed frowns on trailers, but then that's all the more reason that they should come up with funds from the school building assistance program to be able to put a real program, a real building up.
They don't seem to, the state doesn't seem to have any problem finding money for the MBTA, which is a sinkhole. The Big Dig, $22 billion. Didn't have any trouble coming up with money for that. But when it comes to vocational education, it seems almost a, I don't want to say a crime, but an absolute shame that they're quibbling over a few million here and a few million there.
Also, just a quick note, and this is a little bit off the topic, but I think it was important to mention because we were talking about the possibility in the past of developing vocational programs at some of the other schools, some of the comprehensive high schools in the area, and Joe did allude a little bit to this. About the whole issue of saturation of people trained in any particular skill. You have to be very careful if you're trying to get, if you're a comprehensive school, trying to get a vocational program in, that you do not duplicate a program that currently exists.
Another school?
Correct. So somehow it's going to be somewhat different, even if it's similar in a way. It's going to be somewhat different because you've got to be able to show at the end of the game.
Well, the state must have statistics as far as all the schools in the Commonwealth and who has what programs.
Yes.
So if you apply for
that's right. They can deny
you. They can say, look, we get 10,000 of these here.
Correct. They can deny you because
so you're just adding to an overabundance. Getting back to the trailers. So, Joe, what happened with the trailers?
I don't know.
I think the school committee at the time did not approve it because I'm not sure. There was a lot of dissension at the time at the school, I believe, and they simply didn't approve it.
I mean, the trailers could have been actually put together in a sense.
Correct.
Yeah.
Where there's passage, a doorway going into another trailer.
That's right.
And
they were quite large.
And apparently they were quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw them, but that was my understanding.
I don't know what happened to it, but there was some. Just get the trailers, and don't worry about the Department of Education right away. Get the trailers. We have them in there, and we can put them in strategic locations to be able to accommodate more students that want a vocational education, but. It fizzled. And,
I mean, and once the trailers are on the grounds, what is the state going to say? You're going to take them away? You say, hey, buzz off. This is Fall River. I mean, how much jurisdiction does the state have? I remember when there were apparently these liquid natural gas tanker trucks coming over the Braga Bridge and going around to the city. And the city says, you're not going to be driving to the city with those. You're going to come off the bridge and you're going this way. And that was that. Don't you think sometimes the city should be a little more forceful?
Yeah, but I think part of it was inside too. Part of the problem was inside. Internal.
Okay, at the school.
I believe so.
At that point in time.
So
right.
In other words,
which was unfortunate.
Okay, so maybe that's why it we might say just fizzled out. Well, I got to make one announcement, and we're going to be at the end of the program, and this is the this is a Paws and Claws event. This is the Animal Rescue League of Fall River, and this is going to be Saturday night, November 5th at the Venus de Milo. Kind of a formal event, dinner, dancing, and tickets $60, not bad. Of course, you know it's a charitable event, so Venus de Milo, keep it in mind. Contact the league if you need tickets. Gentlemen, thank you for being on the program, and
thank you for having us.
Welcome back in 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Good.